This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And Life Saving Systems Corporation. We do our work so you can do yours. Tough gear for tough jobs. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help with your helicopter training, a standardization and safety check, or maybe just an audit or an FAA refresher. They are here to bring your agency up to date with the most current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is awesome. With the certified flight instructor pilots, experienced crew members, which I am happy to say that I am one of them, they offer training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, ground operations, and night vision goggle use. SR3 is also partnered with Petzl to assist with personal protective equipment and the highly specific Lazard. SR3 also goes beyond the helicopter world as they provide high-angle rescue training and tactical medicine training. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com or over on Instagram at sr3_rescue. And Life Saving Systems Corporation. They manufacture the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From my favorite harness as a rescueman, the Triton harness, to the rescue baskets, the litters, and of course, the most popular hook in all helicopters, the D-Lock. The team at LSC will cut, bend, sew, weld, and machine these products into existence every day. We do our work so you can do yours. LSC. Tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out today at lifesavingsystems.com and follow them on Instagram at Rescue Gear. That's at ResQGEAR. I love having the opportunity to talk to other services, other branches of the military, other people in general about rescue, because we all do the same job and everybody is in this together. We're out there to save lives. It's amazing. So our next guests are coming to us from Naval Air Station out of Lemoore, California. And the story they bring to us is incredible. It's up at 10,400 feet on Laurel Mountain. People with head injuries. The story is amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I do. Please welcome some of our boys from the Navy, Lieutenant Josh Tassone, AWS1 Hermilo Perez, and HM2 Qvon Fayson. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ podcast. Today, man, I got three guys with me that, this is going to be legit. They're doing search and rescue out of the Naval Air Station, right? Naval Air Station in Lemoore, California. And these guys have got a rescue up on Mount Laura? Is that right?
Laurel Mountain.
Laurel Mountain. Oh, I can't wait to you guys to hear this story. This is awesome. So my first Navy guys coming on, full crew, legit. Josh, let's start with you. Let's introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Josh Tassone. I was with the crew acting in the co-pilot position. I've been with NAS Lemoore Search and Rescue now for about a year and a half. before this, I was on my sea tour with HSC 26 on the East Coast. And then from there, picked up this job and have been flying over here since. One of my first rescues here was pretty benign compared to what we're going to talk about in a little bit. We just ended up picking up a hiker with some hip problems on the PCT. Nice wide open. Yeah, actually, it was this whole crew right here. So,
oh yeah. Oh, so we can get a couple cases out of you guys, man. I'm going to take full advantage.
It was high altitude, summertime, but nice wide open field. So we got to just Higgy approach in there, no issues with power. And I think the coolest part about that one was we kind of stole that one right from under the noses of our sister squadron over in China Lake. They flew over us on a training flight. We're wondering what we were doing out there. So
that's awesome.
They actually came in and landed behind us, and then they asked us, "Hey, we'll take it from here." And we're like, "Nah, we got him, man.
Yeah.
He's already packaged up in the litter. Like, we got this guy." They weren't too happy.
Whatever. Yeah. Hey, we got this. We got this. Nice. Milo, what about you?
Milo Perez. I'm from Texas, grew up in California. So I joined the Navy a while back in 2000. So I've been in for a minute. This is actually my last duty station. So I'll be retiring out of here next year.
Congratulations, my friend.
I'm a little excited, but still kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do after this. I don't know if I'm going to continue with SAR if it works out, but we'll see.
Man, that's awesome.
So yeah, I've been here at Lemoore for 2 years. Got a year left. Before here, I was over at HSC 4, which is down in San Diego, Carrier Squadron. Before that, I was in Guam. In Guam, I got to do a couple of medevacs, and I did a little bit of hurricane stuff. We got 2 or 3 hurricanes go through there, and they kind of wrecked Saipans. So we didn't get a lot of rescues. We just did a lot of support for FEMA and all that, transporting people back and forth. Before Guam, I was actually in our sister squadron, China Lake, so I was on the other side.
So you probably knew the guys that were like, "Hey, we can take it from here." Like, no, you can't. All right, we got this. I know who you are. No.
Everyone that I knew was already long gone by then. So
okay.
The Navy, like everyone rotates every 3 years, so like this squadron will be completely different in 3 years.
Yeah.
So China Lake, and then before that, I was HS6, and then so I've been doing carriers my whole career, so I got a lot of plane guard time behind the carriers.
Nice. Side note question. So you're a hoist operator on the H60, and that's what you guys are flying currently is as you mentioned earlier, the Sierra model of the H60, the Blackhawk. Is it the Blackhawk specifically, or is it
the Nighthawk?
The Nighthawk? Okay. Nice. Oh, I love that aircraft. I really do like the 60. It's such a beautiful aircraft. Are you a rescue swimmer as well for
us? So he's actually a corpsman, so HM. So he's strictly just medical.
Yeah.
And then on my side, I'm a rescue swimmer and a hoist operator.
So you went down through rescue swimmer in Pensacola.
Yep.
Oh, and survived.
Yeah, I did it back 2004, right after, I think it was Ivan.
Nice.
Ivan wrecked the whole area there. I went there like 2 weeks after that.
Wow, nice. So you're the first rescue swimmer from the Navy that I've had on here too. Look at that, man. You know how many Coast Guard rescue swimmers are kind of picking on you right now? I just want you to, I mean, like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. All right, and to my man Q. All right, so it's actually, I can't say Q. What's your real name again?
So Qvon.
Qvon
Fayson. Yes.
All right, Mr. Qvon. So introduce yourself, my friend.
All right, I'm HM2 Qvon Fayson. This is my first aviation command. Been there for about a year and a half now. Started my career, I'm originally from Florida, Central Florida, Sanford, Florida to be exact. I started my career at NAS Jacksonville, just regular clinic corpsman, just knowing the basics, general duty stuff. Spent 2 years there. Then I shifted over to 3rd Marine Division out of Okinawa, Japan. I was just doing pretty much the same thing, but kind of more on the Marine Corps side and working with those guys. Had a ton of fun, too much fun sometimes, but
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Come on.
Down there protecting the Pacific and just hanging out with them. After that tour, I really didn't want to go back to a hospital. So a friend of mine recommended, hey, you should go SMT, search and rescue med tech. And I was like, well, I have nothing to lose now. It's either I make it through and become SMT or you go back to regular hospital. So here I am after about 3 years worth of training. That training starts out in Pensacola as well at the flight medic course. Or, well, prior to that, you do your NACIS, your basic air crewman school. Then you move on to your flight medical course just across the street. And then pipeline continues from there. After you qualify, you get selected to your aviation command unit, and here I am.
Man, that's pretty awesome. Now, you said you're an EMT basic, right?
Yep.
So what else do they do in flight corpsman stuff? Or flight medic training? Is there anything additional that you learn outside? Or
yes, so you kind of learn how to take your EMT stuff and kind of, how do I say it, to merge it with the aviation community, or working in the back of a 60 or a 22, just kind of transitioning your ground medicine into flight transport medicine.
Oh, I like that, man. That's a really good idea. And I say that because when I went through basic school in Coast Guard, we went to Petaluma, California, and it was really ground stuff. And then we worked in the back of the ambulance, getting our ride along time stuff. And then after that, it was like, okay, you're back to your unit. So you don't learn how to really start working on a patient in the back of an aircraft until you're like in the back of the aircraft with the patient. You're like, oh, man, there's no room in the back of this aircraft.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Man, kudos for Navy for that one, man. That's fantastic. That's pretty cool.
Course is really intense. They do a very good job with putting you in a real life scenario and how to work as a crew, and get through the problem and treat your patients.
Wow, man, I like that. Gosh, come on, Coast Guard, step it up. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding because I'm Coast Guard. All right, give Navy guys kudos one time. Come on.
Yeah, the Navy's starting to catch up on the medical side. So now they're starting to send the HMs through paramedic school. So I don't know, maybe in a year or two from now, so that's going to come online to where once we get our HMs here or in the fleet, they're going to be full paramedics.
Wow, that's going to be great. Wow,
it's taking forever. I think they've been talking about it for over 5-8 years, and I think it's finally in the final stages.
Man, that's fantastic. Actually, I know of a podcast out there. It's called Dust Off Medic. And those guys, he talks about all this stuff. He's National Guard off the top of my head. But all those guys are paramedics as well, and what they're doing in search and rescue and stuff. So man, kudos. Good job, dude. That's going to be fantastic. Good luck with your paramedic stuff there, Q. Game on.
Sure.
Study your drugs. Okay. As my instructors would tell me, just study your drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Well, thank you for the introduction, guys. I appreciate it. So now I'm going to segue right into this because you guys sent me this awesome after action, and I don't want to take away from anything because I know I have you guys here, but the call out is this, and this is right out of the after action. You guys had a request at 1732 for an 80-mile transit to the survivors located at 10,450 feet on Laurel Mountain. And then at 1820, the crew arrived in the vicinity of the survivors after numerous passes, and the Mono County SAR ground teams talk-ons. Wait, talk-ons? Is that radio?
Yeah, so the way that the kind of land's laid out, there's Convict Lake at the base of Laurel Mountain. And
Yep.
They had a ground team down there with binoculars and a spotting scope to find where the people were located. And they just gave us a talk on via radios that, hey, you guys are eye level with them, or you need to climb, descend, went so that we could pick them out where they were in the chute.
So they're straight up vectoring you guys right into the survivors.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let me back up because I'm not even going to worry about the after action. I just want to hear this right from you guys. So what is the case that gets called out to you guys?
Yeah, so we were on weekend duty for that. The way it kind of works is we all just sign up for different weekends. We cover SAR 24/7. And traditionally, we're here just to cover down for the jets, to provide SAR coverage for the jets at the base. But outside of that, we've got a pretty long leash with our skipper to assist the local counties with SAR on the civilian side. So we got the call from Mono County, which is, like you said, about 80 miles to the northeast. And the report was that there were 3 rock climbers in the northeast gully of Laurel Mountain, which is a pretty well-known rock climbing route. I think it's got some class 5 pitches. And they got wiped out by a rock slide where one of the guys was pretty injured. He had, I think, crushed his climbing helmet, and he had a couple compound fractures. So the other 2 were okay, but they were just stuck. And obviously that guy was not going to be climbing his way down. So that kind of set the scene for us. We all arrived at the squadron spaces and then went to work kind of with the mission planning. So we're typically try to get out the door pretty quick, but for this one, summertime around here gets pretty hot, and the service ceiling for our NATOPS instruction, so our pub for the Sierra is 13,000 DA, which a little low for what we have to work with around here. So we kind of had that in mind, knowing that we were going to be flirting with that. And then anytime we're above 10,000, we're technically limited to 30 minutes up there without supplemental oxygen.
Right. So for most people that actually don't know this, is that, so if you don't have a sealed cabin, or pressurized cabin, once you get above 10,000 feet, you're now starting to get hypoxia. And next thing you know, you're seeing weird stuff. And yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So you guys going up to that altitude and getting ready to hoist, I might add, so cabin door is coming open without supplemental oxygen, that turns into a big deal pretty quick.
Yeah, especially when you're exerting yourself and prepping the cabin and busting out the rescue basket, the litter, and all that. Yeah, you definitely feel, you start getting winded.
Start sucking in. You look over at Q, medic! I can't breathe. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Josh.
No, it's all good. So yeah, we met up in the squadron spaces, and then from there, we pretty much just start divvying up tasks. Q went right to work getting the cabin prepped, bringing all his med gear out, and then St. Jean, our lieutenant commander, who was the hack for that flight, went out with Q. He started pre-flight in the aircraft, and myself and Perez stayed inside. We got on the computer, started looking at some imagery and doing some rough power calcs just to see what our power was going to look like in terms of if we'd even have the power available to get up to that altitude, and how we were going to be able to work. So looking at Google Earth, it became pretty apparent that there was nowhere for us to land, and that this was going to be a hoagie, so a hover out of ground effect kind of rescue for us, where we wouldn't have that added benefit of being in the ground effect bubble and kind of lessen our power required. So
yeah,
we went there knowing that. And then looking at the map too, we were lucky enough to realize that Mammoth Yosemite Airport was just about 4 miles and 3,000 feet lower than the spot. So we could set our bingo fuel pretty low, get really light on gas, and then basically just auto down to the airfield if we needed to.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's pretty awesome right there. All right. So now you guys get up on scene, and you've got guys talking you into the area. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so we came around the mountain. So we're coming from the west side of the Sierras, and we get around to the eastern side, east face of Mount Laurel, and it's the eastern Sierras. For anybody who hasn't been over there, they're pretty just sheer. It's like a 7,000 foot rise and granite cliffs from the Owens Valley, and it's pretty inspiring to look at. But from a standpoint of how we're going to get in there and work, it's pretty intimidating. So we crested over the ridge, and then the bottom just drops out, and you're looking at these steep chutes of granite, and we're really just trying to find them. Luckily, we had good radio comms with the ground party from Mono. And they gave us some talk-ons. They said, hey, it looks like you guys are a little high, a little low. we made multiple passes along the face the whole time, trying to evaluate the winds too, because it was mid to late afternoon at that point. So some pretty strong winds along the Owens Valley and interfering with the mountains too.
Were you worried about downdrafts as well, coming off the mountain and stuff, or?
Yeah, so they did end up becoming an issue when we tucked into terrain, especially as the timing that we got there. As the sun was heating everything up, you got some updrafts, but as soon as the sun dipped behind that ridge line and that face started to cool, it swapped to a pretty strong downflow. And then the chute that they were in just channeled all that downflow, and we were seeing some pretty, probably 20, 30 knot steady, sustained downdrafts that was making our power required a little bit higher, just because we had to counter that basically 30-mile-an-hour downflowing wind.
Wow. So I'm going to help out the people that don't fly and don't quite understand this, but the updrafts you're talking about come basically off the ground, and they go up the side of the mountain to push you up in altitude. And so you're letting out a little more power to try to settle the aircraft. A downdraft is that wind that comes off the top of the mountain and it basically goes down the mountain. And if you get into your helicopter into that downdraft, it's actually pushing you down. So you're required to pull more pull more power from your helicopter to get up in altitude. That is not an easy feat. And if you don't know that, when you bring it into that position over the top of your victims, man, that could be a bad day for the entire crew. And we've all seen the videos of aircrafts going into that. Mount Hood being one of the big ones. They went in thinking they had enough power. Downdraft took that helicopter right out of the sky. And so that's a big key point right there. That's good for you guys for, evaluating all that going in there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we kind of just kept doing some passes. Once we spotted them, we'll typically either have the guys sitting in the cabin door wave to them so that they know, because nothing's more disheartening for a survivor to see the helo and just keep making passes and not know if they saw you or not. So
yeah,
we try to let them know either with the searchlight or waving that, hey, we did see you guys. And then we just continued with the evaluations in terms of power and wind. So I think at that point we started coming up with a game plan, knowing that we were going to have to rappel. We wanted to get in a little bit closer and start sizing up the chute and just see how low we were going to be able to get into there. We started doing some power checks, realized that with the fuel load that we had and the DA that we were at that point, the aircraft was basically going to have to be at zero fuel weight, so empty to hoagie with any sort of margin. So we knew we were going to have to do something to get pretty light. So we made a couple more passes just to kind of size it up, and then made the decision to drop down into Mammoth to start stripping out gear. So we landed down at the airfield and then just offloaded everything that we didn't need. So our rescue basket, I think we only kept the rappel rope and the litter, and then the stuff that you guys needed.
Yeah,
kind of pick up to that.
Pretty much dumped all the gear, and I just kept the minimum gear required to conduct the rappel and hoist operation. So, yep, we got 2 fire bottles. I took one out because we're only required to have one as per the club.
So that's when you're looking at stuff like, do we really need this? Maybe. No, just throw it out.
Yeah. So we're just trying to get pretty skinny. We took some floorboards out just because we didn't need them, and then we went back up. And at this point, I think we were making our passes with about 1,100 pounds of fuel. And for the Sierra, our minimum that we need to be on deck by is 450. So we set our bingo right at 500. We figured 50 pounds of gas would be enough to do a powered off descent just right down to Mammoth. So that was as light as we get. And then we started making approaches. So I think the first one we ended up getting into, we had to tuck pretty tight into terrain. So we're working the face, and we tucked into probably 1 to 2 rotors off of the face of Mount Laurel.
So you're getting close to that mountain. Dang.
Yeah, we were trying to stay within the mountain limit. which is a little bit cleaner, but still in some downflow, and then just working our way over to it. And then the most challenging part was there's a kind of a ridge line that dropped down on the other face of that chute. So if you can imagine, they're tucked into a steep little chute that dropped down from pretty much the summit to the lake. And then right out in front of our nose, we had a ridge line that just kind of covered in front. So our approach put that ridge line right off the nose. We had the chute off to the right, and then our wave off was down and left 90 degrees for about 3,000 feet.
I love that. My out is going to be a descent 3,000 feet. Oh my gosh, dude, that's crazy. All right. So you guys are in a hover over the top of the target. All the power has been checked. Hit me.
Yeah, so we're still kind of like in a power wind finding situation. I think grand total that day we made close to 15, 20 passes in attempts just to get into the Hoagie. So this one was one of our first, like, hey, we're going to go slow. We're going to get pretty slow and then get into the Hoagie over this spot and see if the bird will hold it. Our number one engine, I want to say, it was either the number one or the number two. We've only got two. So one of them was weaker than the other. And for the Sierra, we've got some different temperature limits based on them. And that day at that altitude, we were operating in the 2.5 minute window. So the tapes were red, but we were in the red temp for, you're limited to 2.5 minutes. So we were racing the clock on that to get the rappel done each hover. We only had 2.5 minutes each time we were stabilized in the hover to get what we were doing done. So,
Wow.
That put a little bit of pressure on me as the hoist operator in the back. So we got like about 2.5 minutes. I got like a mile final, so I got to get this guy out the door, do all the safety checks. Attach the way we deploy our rescue litter. It's fully extended, and we clip it to his harness, and it's basically between his legs. And he's got to pinch it with his legs as you're rappelling.
Yeah.
You got to get all that stuff out the door, do the safety checks, position the aircraft in the right spot, and get them out the door, within the 2.5 minute window. So that was probably like the biggest pressure.
Jeez. Oh my God. All right. So is the litter hanging vertical then between your legs? So the litter is going to hit the ground before you do.
Yep.
Come on.
You got to push it out as you're coming down, or else it's not going to be nice.
Wow. So I just mentioned you guys a little bit ago, but the Coast Guard, I've never done that with the Coast Guard. It's not rappel out of the aircraft is not something we do. So man, this is all new to me. This is exciting. I'm jonesing right now. All right. So you've got 2.5 minutes to get Q out the door, all the gear, rope dropped, and go. So how are you setting up the cabin in particular, Milo, to prepare for that? Is Q sitting at the door, litter's attached, and you're just 3, 2, 1, hold, drop, and go? Or
yeah, we pre-stage everything in the cabin. So we already dumped all the gear that we didn't need.
Yeah.
So we had the minimum equipment required. The litter is pretty much all. It's already set up and extended. It's sitting in the back of the aircraft. So we already got the rappel and the belay line set up. So basically, we hook everything up inside. I hook them out to the rappel rope, belay line, all that stuff. I get him out the door, and then all I do is slide the litter out between his legs, clip it to his harness, and then recheck everything. And then as soon as I get clearance from the pilots, I give him the 3 taps, and then he's on his way.
Wow.
So, like LT was saying, we had to do multiple passes, and there's a couple of times where we'll be like on a short final, we'll get a downdraft, and we'll start drooping. So like with power available, it exceeds power required, and I have to like grab them, push them, pull them back into the aircraft with the litter and all that, close the door, and wave off. So I think we did that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, one of the first wave offs was probably one of the worst ones. We got in there, we got set up, and for the approach, like you said, Q and him are ready to go. Q's hanging out the cabin door, and we're just keeping it below 40 knots for the approach.
Yeah.
And as we get in there, we get set. We're there for maybe 5-10 seconds and then got slammed by a downdraft. We drooped down to about 96% on that one. So just like, I know you paused, but 100% NR, that's like our rotor's working at 100%. Once you drop below 98, it starts to get a little bad. You can kind of hear them spooling down. They're just grabbing for air that's not there, and they're trying to keep enough power on the bird to keep you in the hover. But basically, the pitch is just too high, so the rotor starts slowing down. So we were at 96%, and the issue with drooping is the rotors are trying to rob power from the tail rotor, so you start losing your counter torque. And with our aircraft, the nose wants to brake right. Right for the nose brake is into the side of Laurel Mountain. Our wave off is down and left, which is a higher power requirement. So we pulled Q in as soon as we told them that we were departing, gets them in the cabin, and then we just kind of dump the collective and take that drop off down and left with a 90-degree turnout, get away from the terrain.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Q, are you on comms during all this, or are you just, so Coast Guard wise, and not so much now and what I do, but once we get ready, we take our helmet off and we're no longer on ICS. We're not on comms with the pilot. So we just hang out the aircraft. So if flight mech pulls us in or the crew chief pulls us in, you're like, what's wrong? And then all of a sudden you feel the aircraft diving. So are you on comms at this time, or?
Yes, I was on continuous comms. We have the AWIC system, the Aircrew Wireless ICS system. So
beautiful.
We just plug it into a little wireless radio pack on our vest and just connect in, so we can hear all ICS comms. Even if you're on deck, line of sight, it still works. So
yeah, so I'm using a similar system now. The one I use is Nexus. Is it Nexus? I think it's, or no, AXNES, AXNES, and that's another wireless ICS system. Great invention. God, it's a game changer. As an RS on the hook, on the ground, you're still in ICS communication with the aircraft. I like that. All right, so 3 passes, try to get in there, can't do it. You've now decided you got 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. So we basically got as light as we knew we could be. So we're down to, I think, about 650 pounds of fuel remaining, knowing that our bingo is going to be right at 500. So we've got about enough gas for one more pass in the hover. And we made the approach, and we knew, hey, this is as light as we're going to be. So if it doesn't work now, it's just not going to work. We got in there, got out into the hover, and they immediately went to work. We were stable. Lieutenant Commander St. Jean was sitting right seat, so he's got the references. He's holding that, and I'm just calling out torques and TGTs to him just to let him know how engine instruments are doing, and I'm giving him the countdown for 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
At that point, the show was in the back.
So, all right, so now I'm going to run to the back. So let me start with you, Milo. You get Q outside the door. Again, this is a little new to me. How do you deploy the rappel line? Is that you, or is that Q that drops that?
So yeah, it's already attached to the aircraft. He's hooked up to the aircraft, and he's at the door. Everything's already ready to go at that point. And he's got a Sky Genie, especially that's a descent device that we use to descend. And it's all on him. As soon as I do my final checks, I'll request permission from the pilots, make sure they're ready to go and have a stable hover. As soon as they gave me permission, I give him the 3 taps, and then he'll start coming out of this lock off, and then he's the one controlling the descent.
Nice.
So I think at that point we were like 70, 80 foot rappel. Maybe it was a little higher. I'm trying to remember from a year ago.
it was about,
Let's call it 100. I like 100.
It was about 100.
I've heard those fish stories. Everything gets bigger in time, right? It was 200 feet. I'm just kidding.
The main problem was that we couldn't. It was a sheer cliff. It was pretty steep.
Yeah.
I couldn't get on top of the survivors because of the narrow chute. We just didn't have the clearance. So I was able to rappel him just below the survivors. I don't know, 20 yards down or something like that.
That was like 40 feet down the chute.
Yeah, 40 feet below them.
Not too bad.
There's a little open spot there. I was able to put him there. And then honestly, I didn't want to mess around with disconnecting the carabiners and dropping the ropes and all that because time was essential. So as soon as he got on deck, I just cut the rappel rope.
Like knife, cut it.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Our normal release is like, because there's some weight on the rappel rope, so you got to pull it and you got to unlock the carabiner, unhook it from the carabiner, route it through one of our rings, and then you drop it. So that takes about 5-10 seconds, but we were just so time limited that like as soon as he got on deck and he was okay, I was like, all right, just cut it.
Yeah,
wow. Super smart. Gosh.
And I'm pretty sure we were drooping at about 98 once he touched deck. So we let him know where we had to go, and we just cut the rope, and then we dropped down into Mammoth for gas.
Yeah. My biggest concern with them when he was doing the rappel, I was just terrified of waving off, especially with them below the aircraft with the litter. If we had to like drop down, nose it over, and pick up speed, him with the litter, the way it is, he's gonna start swinging and spinning, and that was probably like the most terrifying, like 15-20 seconds of flight, like the transition from getting him up from the aircraft to the ground.
And Q the whole time he's like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
he was a little more relaxed.
That whole process, going back to the whole 2.5 minutes, with Lieutenant Tassone calling out those numbers very calmly, kind of kept me calm during the entire situation.
Awesome.
So, during my rappel, I encountered a few like pigtails, is where the rope kind of twists up on itself and it'll jam in the Sky Genie. So I ran into that kind of 20 feet from the deck. So I'm working through that, and he's 30 seconds or whatever down. And as soon as I touched it's like a 3-foot ledge that I just safely landed on, I just feel the rope release. And I didn't know he had cut it at that time because I decided to, one of the survivors climbed down to where I was about 50 feet from the actual, the injured guy.
Yeah.
I asked him if he can take the litter up, and he was like, yeah, sure. So I tied a quick knot, inline knot, and I put a carabiner through and connected it to the litter. Well, I was pulling the end of the rope up, and I was looking at it and was like, oh, well, that's cut. Cool. And he took that end up to where the guy was, and he started pulling it up hand by hand. And I followed him kind of on hands and knees, kind of trying to get my grip. And it was a pretty nice vertical chute I had to go up. I'm not a climber, so I'm just kind of like, I'm holding on for dear life. And it's only one way up. You really can't go back down, or you'll start, sliding down. So really,
so real quick, when you go down, so you went down with the litter, I assume you went down with like a medical bag as well?
Yes,
so
we have a medical bag.
Do you, when you're rappelling out, is that on your back, or do you have that hanging between your legs as well?
It's on the back, just like a backpack.
Oh, it is? And that doesn't center or like offshoot your center of gravity or anything? Man, that's pretty cool. And I asked that because if I've been on the hoist hook before where I've had a backpack and it actually pulls me like over, and I'm almost like headlocking the hook. So to keep myself upright, and yeah, that's pretty awesome that you can go down with that and all the gear. So holy cow. All right, so now you got to climb up. The aircraft is gone. So you guys are out of the picture for a minute. I'm sorry. This is a conversation for me and Q at the moment. All right, so now you're on scene. You got to climb up 50 feet, this freaking rock ledge, holding on for dear life. You come up to the three guys, and like, what's going through your head right now?
So I'm pretty, one thing I really learned from the Marine Corps and working with Marines is the best medicine you can give someone is to be calm. So no matter the things that I've gone through to get here, I'm here, and you're looking at me to get you out of here. So first thing is just be calm and do what I'm trained to do. So I immediately just state my name. Hey, everything's okay. I'm here. I'm gonna get you out of here. They pointed me to the guy who was pretty messed up, but he was definitely with me and conscious and talking to me and just pretty much saying what hurt, what didn't hurt. I did a really quick rapid trauma assessment on him. Everything was fine. He had a pretty jacked up left elbow, bone was sticking through. He said his right knee was killing him. I checked that out, and he was swole up like a freaking softball. And yeah, he just kind of got hit on the head. So he was there, but he was definitely kind of ready to go home. So
Yeah.
And to put it in the picture, he was kind of laying horizontally on this kind of 3-foot ledge. So to the right of him is sheer cliff, and then to the left of him is right of him is sheer cliff, and then to the right is just a wall. So I had to kind of work between this 3-foot kind of ledge-ish thing. So putting the litter, getting him on the litter was the roughest. I had to get the walking wounded survivor to come over and kind of lift him up.
Yeah.
And we just shimmied him on to the litter.
Oh my gosh. And you being a basic, you're not carrying any major pain meds or anything. So
no.
You got to look at this guy and be like, dude, here's a stick, bite down because it's going to hurt when we move you.
Yeah. I definitely packaged him up pretty good. I made sure that he was nice and snug. Everything was anatomically splinted and everything like that. He definitely felt comfort with me being there, and just he just let loose a little bit, and that was really good for me. I have to deal with a kind of a going crazy patient. Just super calm and super cool.
Which is actually, that's pretty cool. You said that too, because one of the things, when you get patients that get hit in the head, you never actually know what you're going to get, because they could, with the head trauma, it could be a terrible turnout for everyone, so wow.
Everything checked out neurologically. He was perfect and stable. He just wanted to go home at that point. I got him packaged up. I started working. It was actually a female was the kind of the second injured. She just kind of hurt her knee, scraped her knee really bad. But I think most of her injuries were kind of psychological. She was just kind of like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to time out. I don't want to time down. I don't want to wait for SAR ground crew. I just want to go. I want to get out of here too.
Yeah.
Keeping her kind of cool through the process was definitely the biggest medicine that I could have given her.
All right. So now you've got the patients all packaged up, or the one guy packaged up in the litter. I assume you have radio comms with now the aircraft?
Yes, we have a handheld
like VHF.
The VHF radio. We were in line of sight, so I was definitely talking to him, telling him what's going on.
All right. So Josh, I got to bounce to you real quick now. Q gets on the radio. He's like, all right, guys, I got three patients or 3 people that are going to get hoisted out or need to be extracted. Like you just had 2.5 minutes to get one guy in and couldn't wait to get him off the aircraft. All right. Sorry, Q. But now all of a sudden you're going to have to, let's put each one of them at 200 pounds. And I know they're not there, but that's 600 pounds. And if you had Q, I'm not saying you're 200 pounds, but just for gear and equipment, 800 pounds more people, equipment that have to come back on the aircraft. What is going through your mind right now, Josh?
Yeah. So knowing that, we knew it was just going to be a circus of one at a time. So we discussed on deck, I think we only took gas to we took maybe about 150 pounds of gas, which for us is just a quick sip. So we topped off to like 750 just to get us up to the climb and establish, and that would give us enough time for maybe 1 pass or 2 passes if we had to wave off. But we knew we were going to have to be light taking on the extra person. But we discussed with Fayson while he was up there, and then have a good line of sight. We were just sitting down on APU at 750 pounds of gas, and as soon as he gave us the green light, we were going to go up there and then lower the hoist as quick as we could once we were established, and it was just going to be a quick pick. He was going to hook in, be ready with the litter patient, and we were going to be pull both of those dudes right off the side, and then basically a short haul with an in-flight hoist recovery as we descended down the bandit.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, so for everybody else, all right, so basically you're going to come into a hover, you're going to take tension on the hoist cable, so that's all Milo. Prepare to take the load, power check, power's good, a little bit, and you're leaving scene, flying down the mountain as you're hoisting them in to save the power and the time on scene.
Yeah. So we came in, we got tucked in that chute as much as we could. Like I said, on the first rappel, we couldn't quite get right on top of them, so I
Yeah.
had to come up a little bit higher and get tucked in there a little, because at this point he's on a litter, so I have to get the hoist to him.
Yeah.
We came in there. I came up a little bit, and we kind of tucked it in a little bit more. I think as far as clearance, I think we had at the 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, at the 5 o'clock. I think there's about 10 feet of clearance, 10, 15 feet of clearance from the tail rotor and that chute. And then at the 2 o'clock, there's probably 20, 15 feet of clearance. So we couldn't get any closer. And actually, I couldn't even get the hoist right on top of him. So I had to kind of like swing it to him a couple feet. So
Yeah.
I kind of swung the hoist in there a couple feet. He grabbed it, he hooked up, he did his final checks. As soon as he gave me that thumbs up, we slowly came up, and then we just kind of came left. As soon as he was clear, we just nosed it over and started heading down the mountain.
All right. Q, were you riding with the patient in the litter?
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, on the pickup when he dropped the hook, I mean, it couldn't have been a better hoist drop off because it just landed right behind me, and I was just able to reach back as far as I could and grabbed it. And while I was reaching back, the litter patient reaches and grabs me because he knew like I was leaning toward the edge of the cliff, so he grabs me, and I grabbed the hook, and I'm like,
Jesus.
everything's okay. The white in his eyes was just like, I saw everything, and I hooked up and just gave him the thumbs up, and we started flying. Yeah.
Wow.
Legs, and we're just cruising 10,000 feet down to
How high was the hoist? Do you remember?
I think it was a little bit higher. I think this one was 130, 150. I think.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, because were you off center just a little bit? And I'm only asking because when you came off, they would have come into a little bit of a swing. And then as soon as you started forward or down and left towards the landing zone, they would have like pretty much stopped their swing as you're bringing them in, right?
So they swung a little bit, but not too bad. I think if it would have came another 5, 10 feet to the right, they would have been perfectly plumb under the aircraft. But yeah.
But you didn't have that.
Yeah. The thing is, like to the left, I mean, I wasn't worried about it because as soon as we picked up, we came left, and there's nothing on the left that we hit. So as soon as we nosed it over, they got a little bit of a swing, but as soon as we picked up a little bit of airspeed, they kind of stabled out.
Yeah.
And the litter, like zero spin. It was like perfect. Like the litter came straight up and like didn't even spin.
Oh, that is beautiful.
I think the litter did like maybe a quarter spin, and that's it.
Yeah.
Perfectly stable.
Dang, man. All right. Wow. I'm like blown away with this. This is awesome. All right. So now you got the patient, you got Q up to the door, rolling down. You're probably doing what? Probably 20, 30 knots towards the landing zone.
Yeah, max 40 until he's in the cabin. Once he got him in the cabin, we buttoned up, and then honestly, to make the descent without having to kind of spiral our way down, we almost uncoupled. So basically an auto rotation just to lose the altitude, and then landed in Mammoth where we had an ambulance waiting. And from there, we offloaded the litter patient and Fayson into the ambulance, and he started his turnover. And then that's where we kind of started doing a game plan for how we're going to get these other two. So,
because you got to go back up, and somebody cut the rappel rope. Way to go, Milo.
You got a spare one, so.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
And luckily, the Mono County Sheriff had comms with the guys that were on the side of the mountain. So they were talking via sat. After a conversation, they're both uninjured, except for the small lacerations and bruising to the female's knees. So we made the decision that we would go back up, but the risk to Fayson to have him rappel for these uninjured when a ground party could essentially hike up, or these two uninjured people could hike down after they rappel and do their stuff. We just thought it was too risky for him to rappel to them again. So we would go and make an attempt. And we're going to lower a basket to them one at a time and see if they could get into the basket. So Sheriff texted them the game plan via sat. They responded that they were good with it. Obviously, the female and the other guy didn't want to spend the night. Sunset was happening, so it was starting to get dark. So we told them we'd be up there. Took a little bit more gas up to 750. Swapped out the litter, left Fayson down in Mammoth with the patient for turnover, and myself, Lieutenant Commander St. Jean, and Milo went up with just the rescue basket to pick up the other two.
So, all right, now that you've got the rescue basket, Milo, you guys get into that hover. I get it. You guys still can't get right over that top of that spot. So do you have to swing the basket into them a little bit as well?
Yep. So yeah, and at this point it was already nighttime too, so we're already on night vision goggles. So it added a little extra element.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Are you kidding me right now? You guys are doing this under goggles too? Sick. Ah.
And yeah, that was the main concern. We got a little bit lighter dropping off Fayson, and I dropped off the rest of his medical equipment, so it was a completely gutted cabin.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think by the time we did our first approach, it was already nighttime, so we already gobbled up.
Are you hoisting on goggles?
Yep. So I'm kind of like, I have my goggles on, and I'm we had the lights on. I had the searchlight pointing straight down, and I'll be off the goggles. I'll look underneath the goggles to like look underneath the aircraft. And then to clear the side of the aircraft, I'll be on goggles.
Nice.
But yeah, it was the same approach. We came on top of the survivors with the basket, and I try to get tucked in there as much as I can. I think maybe I was a little bit more careful this time just because it was dark. And
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to the tail and all that with goggles. It's a little bit more challenging. So, but yeah, I think I tucked in there as much as I could, and I just started swinging the basket to them. So yeah, it took a couple tries, 3 or 4 tries. And I swung it, and then as soon as I got next to him, I kind of dropped it, and it ended right next to him. He grabbed the basket. He jumps in. As soon as he jumps in, I just start hoisting up a little bit, and then as soon as it came off the ground, we did the same thing. We just kind of come left and nose down, and we went for a ride.
Wow. And then went back up to get the last person. Same way.
Yeah, that dude, he was terrified. As soon as I brought him off to the cabin, like he was actually pretty smart because he had a climbing harness, and he was actually clipped into the basket. So, there's no way of, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar with the rescue basket. There's really no way to fall out of it, like you gotta be intentional to like fall off that thing. But yeah. He was clipped into it, and he was just like holding on to it.
Do you guys carry the rigid one or the collapsible?
The collapsible one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that collapsible basket. It's great design. Good job, LSC.
Yeah, and the flotation, what made it challenging too, the flotation on it, like the rotor wash was actually pushing it away from the cliff.
Right, because the rotor wash hits that side of the rock, it pushes everything out. That is a big pain in the neck.
Yeah, that was like the biggest challenge for that basket pick. The rotor wash kept pushing it.
Strong downflow at that point coming off the face of that mountain too.
So you've got the downdraft, plus you've got the rotor wash pushing the basket away from the. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I got Tassone here say like, hey, we got about 10 seconds left before we got to depart. And I think our fuel on that one. I think we picked up this first survivor. We came down, dropped them off, came back to the second one. I think our fuel got pretty low. I think 600.
But the last one, we departed just under our bingo, and then just for the sake of covering ourselves, we landed just at or above our NATOPS min. So,
of course, at mins is what you landed at, according to all the records. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, that is awesome.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a challenge. They did an outstanding job in the back, and then. For us, we just with the altitude and everything, I think we were holding the Hoagie. St. Jean was holding the hover at almost 13,000 VA. So we were just below, I think 52 feet below our NATOPS max ceiling, and we're managing to hold a Hoagie. So testament to Sikorsky and their aircraft that it could do that stuff. So pretty strong bird.
Man. Props, you guys, all you guys. That is an amazing job. That is sick. And not on night vision goggles too. I didn't expect that one. I didn't even read that in the write-up. That's terrible. Gosh. All right. So I've hoisted on goggles, but I usually, when I get on scene, it's goggles come up because I've got my spotlight on. Yeah.
For me, it's like 50-50. I'll use the goggles to get in there. We get tucked in. Once we're tucked in, I'll flip them up and down.
So, and for people that have never used night vision goggles, your depth perception is a little bit off, especially when you're hoisting, because, a lot of times we'll be looking at shadows or you have that good depth perception. When you kick on goggles, it goes away a little bit. And I don't know about you, but I might have pile drived one or two of my friends into the ground by accident. It happens. I said sorry to every one of them, I promise. But you look at Q smiling over. He's like, yeah, I might have had that happen. Thanks, Milo. Just kidding. Wow.
These guys, we rappel with goggles too, but during the rappel, we have them flipped up. For the shore hauls, we'll have the goggles flipped down. That way you're able to clear the terrain.
What? Man, I need to come hang out with you guys a lot more. Holy cow. I didn't realize. You say you rappel with goggles as well? That's awesome.
Yeah. We have them flipped up. Obviously, you're not going to have them down because of the depth perception. But
yeah.
You have them ready to go. We use them mostly for the shore hauls. When the repeller, when they get picked off the ground, they'll flip them down to start scanning the terrain. Because it's pretty, if you're like a 200-foot rappel at night in the trees, from up top, you can't really tell when they're actually clear. You could be really safe about it and just shoot way out into outer space and then come forward.
Yeah.
But these guys, we'll pick them up on the shore haul. As soon as they clear the terrain or the trees, they'll give us a clear before flight and we'll start coming forward.
Man, dude, incredible, you guys. Well done. Well done. Dude, thank you for sharing the story. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. I'll tell you what, I'll segue into any other advice you want to give from a little like debrief information that you would pass on, things you might have done a little bit different. I know it's very vague, but I kind of like it that way so that, because whatever comes to mind. You guys got anything that you would pass on to anybody else if they had the same scenario?
I honestly think all the conditions just work in our favor. Having the airfield right there let us get super light on gas, but it was just having to kind of consider all of those factors. What was going to happen when the sun went down? What was going to happen when we got another patient on board and we were added that 200 pounds. So it was a big game of trading pounds here and there, leaving stuff. What was the minimum equipment we could go with? And as Milo said earlier, just doing more with less. We made it work with what we had and what we could take. And then these guys just kind of accepting the fact that we were kind of working right on the fringes of what the aircraft wanted to do. And he was still ready and willing to step back out the door even after he'd been pulled in 13 times. So kudos to them sticking with it. We're up front. So for us, I can't imagine not being on sticks. It's like driving with your friend and they're a bad driver and you grabbing the handle by your door. So I got to imagine that's kind of how they feel.
That's awesome. What about you, Milo? Anything that you would pass on?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is just not rushing into things, especially like rescue,
Totally.
Get the adrenaline rush. You want to go there, you want to get up. It wouldn't have been possible for this one if we didn't have the airport right there, about 3-4 miles away.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it wasn't for the airport being that close, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But I think with most of like rescue swimmers and in our community, our mindset is always never quit. So, and sometimes you got to know when to quit. I've been on a lot of rescues. I think we were on last Monday?
Yeah, last week we did one where
We couldn't do it.
couldn't make it happen.
We got called to a similar, pretty close, pretty nearby. We had some climbers stuck at 11,400, I think.
Yeah.
So a little bit higher.
The DA was it was the middle of the night. I think we flew from like 11 that night until 7 in the morning. So
Yeah.
Luckily they were able to self-rescue. They were uninjured. So ultimately that's what led to our decision that we're putting ourselves and the crew and them just at too high a risk to try to push this happen when they can work it with the ground crew.
Yeah, and that was a lot more gnarly. And as a crew, we all talked to each other, and I'm like, man, this is just not worth it. We tried getting in there. It was like a bigger, tighter chute, but you had to come over the chute and then descend like 150 feet into it. And I was like,
and put the tail into a chute, which was uncomfortable.
Really, it was just like, we talked about it. I was like, okay, these guys are stuck. They're not injured. They're not going anywhere. We could have a ground crew come in, pick them up. You just got to know when to say, you got to know when to call quits. And it's hard because our personality.
Yeah. Great advice though. Great advice. Like sometimes like putting our lives into, that extra extreme, the old Coast Guard model is you had to go out, you didn't have to come home. Yeah, no, that changed. Yeah. You don't have to go out, but you do have to come home. So yeah, smart.
Our model's still so others may live. So.
Yes, that's true. Like I spread that quite often. So others may live. Come on. What about you, Q? Any advice you would pass to anybody else?
I just want to give a shout out to the search and rescue community and also the med tech community, doing great things out here. Our leadership is just, I can't find a better leadership. Pushing forward with the paramedic program, getting us
Nice.
trained up, getting us meds, getting us everything we need. For future SMTs, just, I mean, you can't train this stuff like this. You can't train to 13,000 feet DA type stuff, but always keep it in the back of your head. You could be faced with, a situation that'll cause you to go above and beyond what you train for. So be ready when the time comes and just go for it.
Man, I love it, you guys. Dude, I cannot thank you guys enough for getting together and making this happen with me and sharing this story. Bomb good job, you guys. Freaking fantastic. Josh, Milo, Q, you guys are amazing. Way to represent the Navy. Woo!
Thank you.
You're welcome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, like my daughters like to tell me, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story that they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about any of the rescues or anything else that we talk about here on this podcast, send me an email. TheRealResQ@gmail.com. That's TheRealResQ@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page at The Real ResQ. That's at TheRealResQ. I also want to give a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember that when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.